Nosfet, the most recent upstart EUC manufacturer, just launched their newest EUC out there, the Aero. No, not that kind. AERO, not Aero. Let's talk all about this wheel while you drool and salivate over all these marketing photos. The Nosfet Aero is a 14-inch EUC, which is meant to compete with the Begode A2, the Begode Falcon, and the InMotion V9, which is previously known as the E25. It packs a whopping 126 volts and 1100 watt hours of high-performance 50S batteries inside its diminutive frame. On top of that, it has a target weight of only 55 pounds or 25 kilograms. On top of that, it comes with a 2000 watt motor, IPX6 waterproofing, Hall sensorless functionality for maximum safety, and a claimed top riding speed of 34 miles per hour. Not free spin speed, riding speed. The other thing that excites me about this wheel is that it comes with a 20-watt headlight, the same type that comes on the Nosfet Apex. Honestly, it's about time an EUC manufacturer takes some headlighting seriously on these tiny wheels. We only see truly bright headlights on wheels such as Leaperchem wheels and now Nosfet EUCs. Okay, InMotion headlights are pretty bright too. Lastly, this wheel comes with 70 millimeters of suspension travel on a fork-style suspension. This is huge because fork-style suspension has proven thus far to be the best type of suspension out there for EUCs, and doing it on a tiny platform is just awesome. The Aero is also going to be the safest tiny EUC out there because it has all the safety features that you could ask for. It comes with Hall sensorless functionality that's baked into the firmware. That means that if it loses connection with the Hall sensor, it's not just going to throw you on your face and you're going to be a meat crayon. Instead, now it's going to be able to let you ride all the way home, and then when you shut it off, that's when it turns off. The other awesome thing about this tiny wheel is that it comes with a smart BMS and IPX6 waterproofing. So with all three of those things, this definitely is going to be the safest tiny EUC out there. My only major concern about this wheel is that it is just so curvy. It's a beautiful wheel. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful wheel. But those curves are going to make it really hard for you to properly mount pads. So I'm really hoping that some enterprising individual, maybe a Chinese manufacturer of EUC accessories, might make a side panel fairing system for it. Yes, that is going to ruin the aesthetic a little bit, but it's going to increase its utility a whole lot more. You just can't use an EUC to its fullest potential unless you have pads on it. So that's my only little concern for this wheel. I think we've spent enough time in the cons section. Let's talk more about the pros again. The nice thing that I think about this wheel is that it has a unibody design, meaning that it has a couple of those nice curvy side panels that you directly mount the pedals to, but also it has fairly minimal amount of screws. What that translates to is, in theory, easier maintenance. Easier tire changes. I don't know if you guys have ever done a tire change on a V11 or V12, but what a nightmare. But let's address the elephant in the room now. This EUC has put the other manufacturers on notice. This is going to be a game changer. Currently, the only 14-inch suspension EUC on the market is the Begode Falcon. And let's be clear about one thing. The Falcon is a good wheel, and the announcement of the Nosfet Aero does not take the value away from the Falcon in any way. The Falcon is a fantastic wheel, and just because the Aero is announced doesn't mean that the Falcon is any less awesome. But that said, let's do a brief comparison of the Aero and the Falcon. The Falcon has 900 watt hours of battery, and the Aero has 1100 watt hours. The Falcon has 60 millimeters of suspension travel, and the Aero has 70 millimeters. They're both expected to weigh the same at 55 pounds. The Falcon has a 100 volt system and the Aero has 126 volts. The Falcon has a 1500 watt motor and the Aero has a 2000 watt motor. The Falcon does not have a smart BMS and the Aero does. The Falcon has a somewhat dim 5000 lumen headlight and the Aero comes with an ultra bright 20 watt headlight. Some people might call this a Falcon killer. And that's, again, not saying that the Falcon is a bad wheel. I'm just saying that it is going to kill the sales of the Falcon, because when people look at both of these, the choice is pretty clear which one is better based on the spec sheet. The Falcon is still very well reviewed, don't get me wrong, but for a few measly $100 more, you can get so much more wheel. So to me, I think the choice is pretty clear. How can Begode compete with their product that they already have released now? They've got a whole lot of Falcons that they got to sell. What are they going to do? Personally, I think the thing that they ought to do is lower the price of the Falcon to vendors, and then the vendors are able to lower the price to the consumer, making the Falcon a much more attractive offering compared to the Aero. Thus far though, what they did the very next day was to launch the release of the Begode A5. This is the successor to the Begode A2. I think Begode had a huge swing and a miss on this. I don't know why they chose to announce this wheel the very day after the Aero was announced, because honestly, the A5 is basically the A2, but with double the battery capacity, a little bit heavier, and a little bit more motor power. But it's still 84 volts. Compare that to the Nosfet Aero, which is 126 volts. But here's the big thing. The A5 has 50 GB batteries. And they said that if you want to get 50S batteries, then it's going to cost about $250 more. Are you kidding me? This is a small wheel that doesn't have that many battery packs, and 50 GB batteries and 50S batteries are pretty much the same price to Begode. So basically it's just upcharging for no reason. And honestly, I don't think many people are going to be buying the A5 when they look at the Aero. But that was Begode's Hail Mary. They just decided they're going to be releasing their A5 as is. And I don't think that's a good move. InMotion has been teasing the E25, which is now known as the V9, for a really long time now. In fact, this wheel has 84 volts and it has only about 750 watt hours of battery, if I'm not mistaken, and it's supposed to be about the same weight. The only way that InMotion can compete with the Aero now is in price, or they can really upgrade the specs on this wheel. The suspension on the V9 is supposed to be the same pretty much as the V11 and the V13. And by that, I mean mediocre. Yes, it works, but as far as suspensions go, it's not the greatest implementation out there, especially when we have some other options such as fork style suspensions. I can't contain my excitement. The Nosfet Aero is the GOAT. If you're anywhere as excited as I am about the Nosfet Aero, check out this link right here where you can get it for the best price anywhere on earth. That's all for today's video. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.